Welcome to Better Than Ever Live, wherever you're watching. Hope you're making today your masterpiece. My name's Dr. David Geier, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media medical expert. I hope you feel and perform your best regardless of age, injuries, which we're here to talk about today, or medical history. Very excited to be here. I have not done an Ask Dr. Geier live in probably a month, and I know on my That's Gotta Hurt show at nights and on some of these Better Than Ever lives during the week, I have had people want to ask me questions, and I've been short for time, so said, hey, come back this way, so hopefully we will. Those of you that watch That's Gotta Hurt at night, and Robert, good to see you. Those of you that watch those 7 p.m. shows about pro and college sports injuries, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do one tonight. I'll be around. The problem is there really doesn't seem to be that much going on. Trent Williams going to play with his elbow injury, it looks like. Matthew Stafford's toe seems like it's fine. I haven't found all that much right now to talk about, but we'll see. There's still a lot of time. The NFL teams have practice today, so maybe some new things will come up. As always, when I answer these questions, and I'll stay for as many as there are, if there aren't that many, then this will be very short. But everything I say in response to some of these questions is meant for information and educational purposes only. I'm not your doctor, haven't seen you, haven't examined you, looked at x-rays, looked at MRIs, so everything I say is just giving information about that particular injury, that particular treatment, things like that. I am not giving you medical advice. If you want to come to see me as a patient formally, see me as an orthopedic surgeon, even though I don't do that much surgery anymore, but I'm in Charleston, South Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina. Go to my website, drdavidgeier.com, and go to the contact page. Fill that out, and we can arrange for you to come see me as a patient. So that's great. This is not meant, though, to promote my practice either. This is independent of that. I am just trying to offer information that helps people. All right, Riley, ulnar nerve keeps moving when I move my elbow up and down. What do I do? That's an interesting problem. We're going to talk about this. Makes my pinky weak. Sometimes the nerve itself moves. All right, so what Riley is talking about is what's called ulnar nerve subluxation. Let me get my elbow model and I'll show you. The elbow is not actually on this model, so you have to sort of bear with me here. This is, if you're looking at me, the inside or the medial side of the elbow. The medial side of the elbow. This is the lateral side of the elbow. Maybe easier, just show you on mine. So the ulnar nerve, if you've ever heard the term, and I'm sure you have, hitting your funny bone, you're not actually hitting a bone. It's not a funny bone. What you're doing is when you hit it like a sharp corner on a table or something, you're hitting the ulnar nerve that runs right behind that bone right there. And that ulnar nerve does sort of grip strength, pulling your fingers together and that type of thing. But it also does sensation to this half of your palm and what's called the volar surface of the fourth and fifth fingers, or part of the fourth and all of the fifth. Different nerve does these three. That's why in carpal tunnel, the median nerve, that's why you get these three fingers that typically have numbness and tingling. With the ulnar nerve, it's these two. And that ulnar nerve can be pinched for a lot of reasons. It can be compressed by fibrous bands here, sort of tight muscle constriction in that area. You see that a lot of times in baseball pitchers. But you can also have a condition where that ulnar nerve, as you go through a range of motion, that ulnar nerve snaps back and forth across that bony prominence right there. It is very irritating. The people that have it, it just drives them bananas. Not just from the numbness and tingling from that ulnar nerve down at the fingers, but just the sensation of that sliding back and forth. There is not typically a good treatment for that in terms of non-surgical treatment. It's not something that typically medicines help, not something that typically braces help, even though some people try like elbow extension splints at night and things like that. Doesn't typically do that very well. Typically, you're talking about a surgery. And what you typically do in that surgery is not only do you anchor it in place, but you anchor it in place sort of in front of that bone, an ulnar nerve transposition. And there's ways to do it where it's right under the skin, a subcutaneous transposition, or under muscle, a submuscular transposition. And that surgery can do really well at eliminating both the subluxation, moving back and forth, sliding back and forth across that bone, but eventually the numbness and tingling. Now that can take longer to respond, especially if it's been going on a long time. You can actually have permanent nerve damage or long lasting. So a lot of times the hand surgeons that typically do this will get a what's called an EMG, a nerve conduction study, to see what that nerve is actually doing physiologically, to know, how likely, how long it is to take place. But typically, if you have an ulnar nerve that slides back and forth, it's pretty rare that you can just get over that without surgery. It either just doesn't bother you that much, or you end up having surgery for it. So Riley, I hope that helps. If you have anybody else have any questions, feel free to answer those as well. One of the things that I am thinking about doing, so I tried it Tuesday. I missed the show Thursday for some work obligations, but Tuesday, when I used to do Better Than Ever live for this show, it was, 8 to 15 sort of hot news studies on nutrition and exercise and sleep and aging and men's health, women's health, children's health, that kind of thing. And it's great, and I really enjoyed that. But I've been sort of tinkering around with just doing one topic. So Tuesday I did 12 to 15 minutes talking about the health benefits of coffee. I've got some other ones coming up, the role of sleep in sports and exercise performance. I've got some coming up on penisin polysulfate, which is a medical treatment, it's a medication to reverse or at least stop the changes in osteoarthritis, reduce pain, and hopefully reverse some of the damage. So we'll talk about that soon. But those of you that watch those shows, I'm looking for feedback because I don't really know what the best way to do that is. Is it better to do sort of different topics and you don't really know what's coming, but we talk about all kinds of different stuff, or do you want to sort of know ahead of time what the big topic is? So that is something that I'll be sort of monitoring over the next few weeks to figure out what the best way to go is. Well, it looks like we have a pretty sparse in terms of questions day. So I appreciate it. Those of you that joined, Robert, Riley, I appreciate the comments. Again, if you like the That's Gotta Hurt show, pro and college sports athletes, definitely check that out weeknights at 7 p.m. But if there isn't much more going on over the next few hours, there may not be one tonight. Definitely we'll be back next week talking about the NFL playoff injuries. I also, because I'll be home most of the weekend, one of the things that I'm going to do this weekend is if there's a big injury that occurs during the games, I may pop on and just do a spontaneous live That's Gotta Hurt explaining that particular injury. Riley is asking about, it's been a couple of years, should I consider surgery? And only one elbow. You just do the elbow that it's happening in. You wouldn't do the other side preventatively. Typically, it's just the one, because that's a pretty big surgery and a pretty big recovery. That's not something you can do through the scope. That's a big open incision. So just something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be here almost every Friday talking to you, answering questions. So if you have questions, tell your friends that, Fridays, noon p.m. Eastern Time, drdavidgeier.com. You can see the links. Follow me everywhere on social media. As always, too, on the Tuesdays, Thursdays shows, get the podcast Better Than Ever live wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, I'm going to call it a day. I will see you all right back here next week. Riley, you're welcome. I very much appreciate it. You have a great, fantastic weekend. Check out That's Gotta Hurt over the course of the weekend and next week, and I will see you all very soon.